Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Writer's Infusion. I'm your host, Susan. I'm here with Jen, Dave, Julie, and Ed, and myself. We are here to read a young adult novel excerpt. It's titled Licorice. It's written by Rhea, who's from Massachusetts. So Rhea, thank you for submitting. I'll read the summary and then Julie will read the story. It's 1995. An innocent will enter the dark wood. Two lost souls will meet. Love will grow. Obsession will flower. Innocence will give way to experience. And one of them will make an impossible choice, all because of licorice.
The beginning for me, the end for her, a story I cannot tell. Because I love her almost as much as I hate myself, I will try. Licorice rescued me in all the ways that matter. She had everything possible, and it all fell apart because of me. The downfall, the end. The night before I left home, I stood staring at myself in the mirror. Nothing that I saw, I recognized. A stranger stared back at me. The stranger looked wrong, like everything about me. My hair spiked out in all directions like a freeze frame of an explosion, white as mouse fur. The skin above and behind my ears pink and tender as the feet of the same mouse, raw and aching. I had wanted to burn myself away. I looked like a wreck. I looked like chaos with so many emotions inside me that I did not know what I felt. If no one could recognize me, I wanted it that way. It could help me hide. The change had taken time and effort. It had taken patience and work. A bottle of hydrogen peroxide and a paper packet of Clairol bleach full of powdery with an odor so sharp even I could smell it. A wooden spoon in a Pyrex bowl. Old work gloves from a wooden shelf in the basement, dirty from gardening. Saran wrap for my head, and a towel. After I had poured out the hydrogen peroxide and bleach and mixed them, I had covered my hair with the white goop, which I made, carefully, scared of it even touching my eyes, an eyelash even, making sure I did not touch skin, though not sure enough. The mixture had spread all over my hair, freshly cut, cool and strange. I wrapped the saran wrap around my head. Do you have any idea of the difficulty of tearing it off in a hurry? And I wrapped the towel around my head and took the things into my room down the hall and put them under my bed so I could put away later. I did not think about the one thing in the medicine cabinet shelf. Not once did I think of that at all. Lying down on my bed in the dark, I waited for the mixture to work. It made a sparkling first and then began to seethe and stung as it ate away the layer of color off each strand of hair. Because I wanted the process to work, I endured the pain. I curled up like a comma. I had done it wrong. I had put the mixture too close to my scalp. The skin of my scalp ached like sunburn and other parts hurting raw. Out of ignorance, my mistake. Because I'd never done this before. I had never done anything. 16 years old and I knew nothing. Even I knew it. I ran my hand under the bathtub faucet quickly, quickly, wincing as the cold water touched the burned places. Again, as I rubbed the mixture with the towel, my hair had a whitish yellow color like sulfur. And then I rubbed Manic Panic brand Virgin Snow Toner from a squat little jar through and over my straw hair, winced again, rinsed all over again. Stared then at the face I saw, me, yet not myself. Hair short, as long as my ear, and curling at the tips, and white, like I said. Further down, my eyebrows still dark, curving up and down like a cartoon of birds in the sky. My eyes more green than blue, my nose aquiline with nostrils which flare. The whole of my face makes an oval, my chin does not stick out so far. Below my long neck, the rest of my body begins. Shoulders not very broad, average for a girl, narrow for a boy. The same goes for my height, small for a boy, average for a girl. I do not have a curvy figure or a stocky figure or gangly. My body does not retain muscle or a lot of fat. And I looked 12 years old. Having stared at myself, I snapped off the light out of fear. Medusa, the snake-haired Gorgon, had died when Jason the Argonaut showed her face to her, reflected in his shield. The horror of her own face had turned her into stone. Fear could turn you to stone, so you never moved, so you never dared. Fear of fear made me move. I turned out the light and went downstairs. Still, I did not think about what I had left on the medicine cabinet shelf. In the kitchen, light still off, I cleaned off the bowl and the wooden spoon and dried them with the faded blue-green terry cloth towel. The kitchen looks like an ordinary kitchen. The house looks like an ordinary house, neither cluttered and messy or spotless and strict. I did not belong in it. After after, I put the old gardening gloves back on their wooden shelves in the basement. The backpack, packed and full, waited for me on the floor of my bedroom, so I joined it. We had a plan. Me, and my co-conspirator. It had started to evolve among the age and gotten to the stage where I could not turn back or back down. I had to trust her because I had no courage of my own. The past week, I had spent packing and unpacking until it had become automatic and mechanical. The backpack had a change of clothes in it, a notebook and a pen, a tube of toothpaste, and a pale yellow traveler's toothbrush with a folding handle. A black plastic wallet with an ID card I'd made myself. I placed the wallet there. The ticket, too, in an unsealed envelope, opened up, examined 100 times. Lastly, the book, so carefully chosen, the one out of all of them on my shelves I could not bear to leave behind. All the while, my heart beat forcefully and rapidly. It oppressed me like a bully. My brain and my heart, neither of them let me alone long enough for me to think. No one persecutes me more than me. The kids at school, whose stares last too long, even they could not hate me as much as I hate myself, not even my mother and father and their expectations for me. My parents stare and smile, or rather my mother smiles, my father tries to remember to do it with a faraway look on his face. Stare and smile and understand nothing, or maybe they understood everything, never let on what they think or feel. Always they touch the world with the long sugar tongs of politeness. I had to get away. For a week, like I said, I had done practice runs. Now I took up the backpack, up, and went downstairs. I had to run or else face the full darkness of the truth. The nearer I approached, the farther away I got. The darkness of it grew. The vagueness of it made it more awful. So I could only escape by turning my back. Fear. I knew fear. People sometimes specialize in emotions. They know all about curiosity or pride. I knew fear. The way Licorice knows about bravery and courage, she would act and never look back. Licorice, whom I had not yet met, who I did not even know of, but who I would meet so very soon. A few people can do anything. They must look down on people like us and see us as we sometimes see us, small and ordinary. We must pay that price for not making ourselves great. We get, in return, safety. My mom and dad had ordinary all over them, ordinary lives, except they did not seem to care. My mother on purpose, because she chose it, to stay with my father. My father, because he could see no other way. Maybe they knew they had no choice. Maybe no one has a choice, whether to make yourself great or to stay small. I thought I knew that I could not escape. I just wanted to pretend. If I could pretend, then maybe I could make it real. If nothing else, I would know at least that I had tried. I slipped out the back door, and then around to the front, and out onto the dark street outside. I left this time for real. Never, I thought, to return. My fear walked with me.
Well, I think, you've got a good story here. You have the start of the story, and there are several lines in here that I like. I just felt like there was a lot here that didn't need to be here, and that we could have moved a little bit faster through the story and still ended up at the same place. So, as a start, I thought it took too long for the character to dye her hair. There was just so much of it, and I just didn't think it was warranted. You can have a couple of lines that refer to it, but then I don't think that's really the important part. I actually liked on the second page, the first thing that really caught me was the line that said about halfway down, I did not think about the one thing in the medicine cabinet shelf. Not once did I think of that at all. I almost like that as a starting line.
Yeah.
I had a question mark next to that.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, well, are you wondering what's in there that's making her want to know?
Yeah, I'm curious about it, yes.
I just didn't like thing. It seems vague. But there were a lot of lines in here I liked.
Yes.
A lot of ways that you phrase things that are really good, like freeze frame of an explosion. I would like chaos, things like that. Me getting that myself. Fear could turn you to stone. All kinds of lines in here. Okay. I don't know if this is a male or female main character. And there's a part of me that thinks, what does it matter? And there's another part of me that thinks, I want to know. And there's another part of me that thinks, is this deliberate Are we not supposed to know, or
I think
are we
it's
supposed
I
to
think
wonder?
she or he is transgender. That's my prediction.
Oh.
Okay.
That's a
That's
good
my
prediction.
prediction.
I thought that was very smart.
Should we be confused at this point by that?
Yeah, because I sure am.
Well, confused or curious? I mean,
Both, really, because, you know, this is something that I wonder a lot about in stories. Sometimes I wonder, like, if I took each of my stories and eliminated every reference to gender in it, like, what would these stories read like? Because gender is so, I don't know, it's somehow so fundamental to how we think about a character.
That's
It's something that this brings up for me.
Yeah,
And I
well-
wonder if this character thinks about him, herself, that same way. Maybe they can't think of themselves in,
Either way, maybe that's
In
why
either
we
category.
can't either. They don't want us to
Right.
either then, right?
but it's something that I noticed, like, from the first page. It's like, you know, what is this person?
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because I think because I knew that the writer is a female, I was making the mistake of making that assumption. But now when we were rereading it today, I realized when you had talked about that beforehand, that was probably the case.
The only thing that I would say, is that there's information being withheld here. The main character talks about fear, but we don't know what they're in fear of. They talk about ordinary, but I can't tell if ordinary is good or bad. I can't relate to the character because I don't know what the problem is. And even just trying to figure out, okay, you know, when you know, and plus looking in the mirror is very cliche. You definitely don't want to have that as part of the beginning of your story to show the reader what the character looks like. But when when the main character is looking in the mirror and saying my shoulders are this, not male, not female, I can't gain muscle. I don't have body fat. So and then I made the jump. Okay, so maybe it's medicine in the medicine cabinet because this main character has some type of physical. Maybe they are both sexes. Maybe do you know what I mean? So, but it pulled me out of the story because I had to try to figure it out, and it broke the spell. So I think that there are times to withhold information where it creates mystery, and there are times when you withhold information and it causes frustration and confusion in the reader. And unfortunately for this one, I was frustrated and confused. So I think just give me more to help me connect to this character.
And one thing, this is a young adult novel, and I wonder, I can imagine young adult readers really connecting with this character. I mean, in my mind, I have lots of questions, but I think it would be, I don't know, kind of have a fascination.
I was thinking the same thing. I thought that same exact thing.
For a young adult reader, like, ooh, what's going on here? What are they doing? What are they dealing with?
But I think so. Young adult readers still need to connect, just like any other reader.
Sure, right.
And I'm not sure that that the author has created enough of a reason to sympathize. Like this character is running away. Okay, but why? Give me something.
Right.
Yes.
Like I don't have anything. So
I like what she says about I like the lines with the parents. I mean, I think some of it's redundant, but the first time she introduces them, I should have looked, so somebody help me. Where she says,
ordinary.
oh, right, so she's,
smiling.
yeah, so when she first says, my parents stare and smile, rather, you know what, I actually kind of liked that, but then I thought I crossed off some after that, because then you've made the point, and then you don't, I saw a lot of that in here in general, that, I know it was a lot of thoughts and flowing, sort of, in terms of what he or she is thinking the whole time, but I thought a lot of it was redundant, and that you could take some of that out, and I tried to mark that up several times so that you could see what I mean, rather than just saying this and not giving you examples. So you still have a lot of good lines in there, but some of them you just don't need anymore.
Yeah, and definitely hair dyeing went on for way too long.
Right.
I agree with Ed, there's some beautiful language. I noticed the bottom of page 2, I curled up like a comma. I can see
Right, I
that,
saw
it's
that.
really nice. And the next one, about her eyebrows, curving up and down on page 3. Curving up and down like a cartoon of birds in the sky. That was a nice description. But getting back to the ordinariness and the bleach job on her hair, if she's 16, I wonder where mom and dad are when she's bleaching her hair. Are they in the house? Have they gone out for the night? I'm very curious.
They sound
And
like they're not there.
they're not very
I
present.
don't think they're there.
And B, they're ordinary. So is she trying to break from ordinary by bleaching her hair? Did she have mousy brown hair? Did she have jet black hair? Does she want a new identity because she's entering the witness protection program or running away and doesn't want to be identified? Or does she want to be the polar opposite of what she was? And
Well,
that
if it's a transgender character,
if
then,
it is, we're assuming we
then
don't
being
know.
in an
Yes.
ordinary house where everyone
be-
wants you to be ordinary would be really horrible, right?
What's the word?
Stifling?
Stifling. And the book, I'd like to know the book's title. Maybe
Yeah.
we're going to discover
Yeah.
later, but that's the only book you
Yeah.
choose to take from all your books on the
So
shelf.
name it.
Yes.
Name it,
Yes.
definitely. And
Yes,
just for
please.
the record, it was Perseus that killed Medusa, not Jason. The argument.
There
It was
you
Perseus.
go.
You're absolutely right. I read Jason and it was Perseus.
You're right,
Yes,
you're
yes.
Yep.
I know.
As usual.
Let's talk more about the pretty woman.
Okay.
Think of the most formulaic young adult novel. Whiny teenager, fed up with parents, throws it all in, packs a bag, and runs away. That's essentially what we've got here. What we don't have that will break it away from the crowd is a spectacular reason for running away.
Yes.
Then I can join in with her frustration, or his, or whatever. But the writing is trying to be creative, but it comes off as too coy. Don't hold back the stuff that's important to keep us interested, simply because you want to hold it off for later. That's the worst thing a writer can do, a beginning writer, is, oh, well, forget about this, I'll get to it 2 chapters away. That doesn't work. If there's a problem here, work on the problem here. And don't worry about reaching a 250-page limit. And just tell the story. All of this is, I was frustrated through this. The bleaching is, she wanted to change her appearance. Say, she changed her hair color and now she looks different and she packed up her bags and left. And Licorice is going to, and this is, although she hadn't met, or he, whatever, hadn't met Licorice.
Didn't even know of Licorice.
Didn't even know.
Don't even
So
know of
why are you talking about it?
Yes.
It shouldn't be,
Yes.
get rid of it, get rid of it. Let us meet Licorice when she meets Licorice.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point. I
thought
mean,
that
like,
too.
the first 3 paragraphs are like summarizing what's
Yes.
happened. It's like,
It's
this
the
is not
same
necessary.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, if you want to start here, you can say the night before I left home. You know,
Yeah, I like the first line, but then the second line is redundant and the third line is redundant. You're trying to make the same point
Right.
3 times.
And for people like me who weren't, I did not pick up on the he, she, even though I should have, but I didn't,
No,
so.
that's
I could be
speculation. We're not
wrong.
sure.
But I think,
speculating.
no, but I think it's a good speculation, maybe we're wrong, but, so if you're talking about leaving, then you have a couple of good lines in here that describe what their hair looked like and, you know, in terms of how they went about starting to die. I mean, you can keep 2 sentences on that, but that's about all you need. And then the thing about the small shoulders, the big shoulder, something like that might be good too, because that also shows that there's confusion, but for people like me, you have to make it a little bit more obvious, because like Dave said, a transgender leaving the house, that's a whole new ballgame. It's a
Right.
whole new story for me.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like there are hints that there is something major here. And one of the main hints for me is comparing herself to Medusa, which is this horrifying thing, this horrifying monster from Greek mythology. And I keep saying she, I feel like it's a she, sorry. But I feel like for a person to have that image of themselves, there is something powerful going on here, and we are not being told what that is.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, I don't know, like a person making tea while there are bombs falling around outside. Tell us about the bombs that are falling.
Right.
Yes.
You know, don't tell us about the tea. Tell us about what this person is trying to deal with.
You're right.
And you know, whatever it is, like I said, it seems like it must be something horrifying because of the way she
Yeah.
compares herself.
Yeah, that would distinguish this story from all other YAs that where the kid is pissed off and
Yeah.
throws everything in. I'm going to show them. I'm going to leave the house. I'm going to be miserable.
Right.
Right,
Okay, why is this different?
Yeah.
right.
And she needs, the author, she needs to identify and home in on that particular element to keep the readers, even, because I don't know what middle schoolers read now, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you something about young adult. A lot of adults like myself love young adults.
Yeah, I read young adult.
Oh, yeah,
There's a lot of
gray
adult
area.
and young
Yes,
adult.
There
Yes,
is.
Yeah.
yes.
So I love it. So you have to think of us as an audience as well.
Yeah.
Well, I was struck by something, while she's getting together all the paraphernalia for bleaching her hair. A bottle of hydrogen peroxide and a paper packet of Clairol bleach full of powdery, I think there's a nail missing, with an odor so sharp even I could smell it.
Mm.
Is there something wrong with her nose? Is
Yeah.
there trouble? Is there injury? Is there, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I wrote about that
yeah,
too.
I
That was a
noticed
hint
Because I
to.
would think if it's on your
It's
head,
a
you're
hint.
certainly going to smell it. And then she
Right.
lay down on her
Yeah,
bed, and I
right.
thought, please open a window for ventilation. My God, you're going to be inhaling that. I don't know.
Yeah, she should reread her sentences, or make sure each sentence is a sentence that she means to
Yeah.
say. There are so many missing words and jumbled sentences that make every sentence an event.
Oh.
Don't just get through it. Every sentence should be a majestic
I'll
event.
write that down.
Oh, I like
Mhm.
that.
And there are a
Good
lot
day
of,
quote.
there are a lot
Every
of
sentence
not
is a sentence.
sentences here.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
sometimes,
right.
like a sequence of things, that can go, but there's
Yes.
clearly words missing in some of these sentences.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yes.
think it goes back to as well what you said before when you used the word coy.
Hmm.
Because I don't know, that pretty much kind of describes it where you have all these little
She's
thought. It's
holding
like
these
having all
ideas,
these
yeah.
fragments that are going
Yeah.
through her head and writing them down like that. And I think a lot of that just isn't necessary.
Just tell the story. Just tell the story. Your writer's voice will come through. If you know what your story is and you know how you want to say it.
Yeah.
Just,
It's interesting. I mean, there's something going on
you
here.
know what I mean?
You know, and,
Oh, there's obviously
and we wanna know,
tension,
you know,
yeah.
Well-
and you can, you know, the writing is here. I mean, there are some, you know, great invention of phrases.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a
Just
lot
go
of
with it.
All the
places.
elements are here, yeah, just go with it.
Revisit the start with me, the beginning for me, the end for her, a story I cannot tell. Because I love her almost as much as I hate myself, I will try.
I crossed
Can't
it
tell
out.
it, but I'm going to tell it.
Yeah.
The wording for me, and yet, if it is transgender, as Jen just pointed out, interesting, and for me, and, beginning of me and for her, so perhaps we're going from female to male. Maybe not,
Oh,
because
maybe
I
the
love
same
her,
person. That's a good
hate
point.
myself, maybe it's inner turmoil, maybe it's this love of licorice,
Oh.
who is this guide
Fight
or
Club.
influence, or, I don't know, that's what intrigued me.
Yeah.
Is that, you mean like Sybil?
Like Fight Club.
Oh, multiple personality.
Personality?
I hadn't thought of that.
Oh.
Oh,
Well, there you
I
go.
just thought
And I think
conflicted.
that speaks to the confusion in the story.
Yes,
Yeah.
We shouldn't be this confused
Yes.
5 pages into it.
yes.
You're gonna have to nail something down to help the reader stay on this track.
Right.
Mhm.
The other thing I would just say from a technical perspective is just you want to be consistent with your verb tenses, so you kind of hop
Yeah, I
around.
noted those.
Yeah, reread your
Yeah.
sentence
Yeah, definitely.
over
Present,
and over.
past.
I've read the first 5 pages of my novel no less than 75 times,
Oh,
just to
right,
be
you
sure there, and I still find, well, it could go this way, could you, just reread the sentences.
I read it out loud.
Hmm.
Yes, you made a good point.
Yes.
I like make every sentence an event. I think we should put that on the webpage.
Okay, and I'll
That's a
sign
good
it.
line.
You
All right.
like that?
I like
I
that.
do, it's real, I wrote it down.
But it's different than an Alexism.
Yes,
Very different.
someone in our group outside, there's sorry. Is anything else you wanna add?
Well, good start, good start.
Yeah.
Due for revision, but there's a lot here to work with.
Yes, and we all marked it up. You can see that when we post the episode, as you know, you'll see all the marked up pages there too, and that should help you a lot too. Okay, thank you, Leah. Thanks for submitting. Thank you everyone else for watching today's episode of Writers Infusion. We will see you next time. Keep writing.